Well, good morning, friends. Welcome to Fairfield Friends meeting. My name is John Essex, and behind me is Jackson Napier. Friends on Zoom, we're so glad to have you here, so thank you for joining us. To that end, if we could turn our cell phones off on silent, preferably on airplane mode or off all the way, would be great. It's good for our mental health to disconnect from that, and it also helps bandwidth so folks on Zoom can hear and see us nicely. So we're going to start with our first hymn, Worship and Song 242, I Am an Acorn. It's in the Worship and Song book, and please stand if you're able, and we'll sing I Am an Acorn.
Friends, we will practice the parts of this song. This is a new one for us. It's a very beautiful, simple song. So I'll sing it part by part, and then you'll sing it back. So, I am an acorn, the packet, the seed. I am an acorn, the packet, the seed. That's pretty good. God is within me, and God is the tree. I am unfolding the way I should be. Carved in the palm of God's hand. Carved in the palm of God's hand. Carved in the palm of God's hand. Let's sing it through together one time, and then we'll add some layers. Maybe more than once. So, I am an acorn, the packet, the seed. God is within me, and God is the tree. I am unfolding the way I should be. Let's all start together, and then when we reach the second part, this side jumps in. So, I am an acorn, the packet, the seed. I am an acorn, the packet, the seed. God is Okay. Thank you, Fred.
Maybe we should try to get another day.
Try to get another day.
So once it's kind of in our hearts, then we can do that.
Yesterday, my alma mater, Wabash College, played in the one football game I really care about still, the Monon Bell game against our arch rival DePauw. For those who maybe don't know, the Monon Bell is this 300-pound locomotive bell donated by the old Monon Railroad, which used to run between Crawfordsville and Greencastle. And Wabash and DePauw have been fighting over it for 131 years, making it one of the oldest college rivalries in the country. We have folks here from both of those schools, and Wabash, it doesn't matter who won or lost, really. It's not important. Wabash is the home of the Little Giants, and it occurred to me recently that every school I've attended has some kind of contradictory mascot. In elementary school, I was one of the North Salem Blue Devils. In high school, I was a proud member of the Plainfield Fighting Quakers. That's true, that's a real thing. And at Wabash, I was a Little Giant. So, Blue Devils, fighting pacifists, tiny giants. You know, even now when I hear the term fighting Quaker, are we the people who renounce violence, or are we the people who just clobber you at the 50-yard line? You know, which is it? These oxymorons got me thinking about how much of our lives are lived in the middle of paradox. Last week, and the cards are still here today, we see these little cards that are spread across the pews. Charlie Richardson made them, and they have Fairfield's information on one side, and on the other side there's a few quotes from a book of essays by Debbie Humphreys called Seeds That Change the World. And the first line on this card stayed with me all week. Quakerism is an invitation to walk together in ambiguity and paradox. Debbie Humphreys says Quakerism at its best doesn't rush to iron out every tension. We hold things together that don't line up neatly. See, we honor individual discernment and we trust the wisdom of the community. We seek radical simplicity and we live in a complicated modern world. We want clear leadings and we sit in a lot of not knowing. Instead of saying, well, which is it? Choose. We practice staying present in this tension. In my own life, I've got plenty more paradox than just school mascots. I can be both generous and defensive. I want change, and I cling to old patterns. I long for deep connection, and sometimes I withdraw. And these contradictions can feel like hypocrisy, or even failure. But what if instead it's really just telling the truth about being human? It might be that when we can admit our own paradoxes, our mixed motives, our conflicting desires, something important happens. We become more honest. We become more compassionate with ourselves and with each other. And that honesty is often the soil where real growth can take root. Jackson told me this week he's been sitting with a verse from the Gospel of John about a seed falling into the ground and bearing fruit. I won't step on his message, but I was struck by how that image of a seed connects with Debbie's book title, Seeds That Change the World. Maybe one of these seeds is simply this: the courage to accept that we are not simple, tidy people, and neither is this meeting. We're people of both and. We carry joy and grief, faith and doubt. We carry generosity and fear. And instead of pretending otherwise, we're invited to bring our whole paradoxical selves into the light. So as we center down for worship, I invite us to hold a few small queries. Whether you're a little giant, a fighting Quaker, or I don't know, a raging chickadee or something like that, think about this. Where do I notice paradox in myself right now? Places where I'm both this and that. Can I let the light show me these places with honesty and without judgment? How might accepting my own contradictions change the way I see and accept contradictions in others? Let's bring our whole selves, contradictions and all, into our time of centering silence and see what seeds may grow. Friends, it's now time for community sharing. This is where we're going to share announcements and then joys and concerns. And we'll start first with our friends on Zoom. If you have any announcements, please unmute and share when you're ready.
This is Dinah Geiger. I wanted to remind everybody about the holiday cheer bags. We have about 21 that we're going to make this year. The holiday cheer bags are bags that we give to people who are shut-ins or people who need some extra care at this time. Ideas of things you can get for those are chapstick, small bottles of lotion, small hand sanitizer, puzzle books, pens, pencils, any kind of thing like that. We're hoping to be able to pack and deliver the bags on the week of December 7th, but we'll start collecting things next Sunday. If you just mark it that it's for the holiday cheer bags and put it in the USFW room, which is the room right off of the dining room. Another thing is the cookie exchange. I wanted to remind you of that. It's December 14th. It will be around the island in the kitchen. All you need to do is bring 3 dozen cookies and a container to collect the cookies. And it will take place immediately at the Rise of Worship, after the Rise of Worship. People don't like to stand in there and wait around, and we wouldn't want you to miss it. So try not to talk too long to other people right after worship that day, and go in there and do that. Another thing is, I've been looking for a picture that my family had donated to the White Meeting House, and it hung in the dining room, and the title of it is called Grace, and it's the picture of the man, the side view of him praying over a loaf of bread. And we had donated it in memory of my father. And I have a couple of family members that have been asking me about it. And I have a few that would like a copy of that picture. So if you happen to know where it is, if it's still available, let me know. Thank you.
Do we have any other announcements from our Zoom friends? Then we'll open it up to our friends here in the meeting house. Make sure you do say your name first so the folks on Zoom know who's speaking. Into the microphone, that is.
Ann Tarvin for Ministering Council, with calendar in hand this time so I get my dates right. Next Sunday, the 23rd, is our pancake lunch. As I said, this is kind of an experiment to see if we like it and how it goes. It will be a free will donation, which will go to all I can think of is Alternatives to Violence, the other one. Friends Peace Team. Friends Peace Team. Coming up the week after, 2 weeks after, on December 7th, is Snowflake Sunday. I know everybody will be here. It will include the candlelight service and then the pitch-in dinner. So that's a big Sunday. That's the big whoopie-doo. On December 12th, that's a Friday, is the Concert for Democracy, with proceeds from that again going to the Friends Peace Team and the American Civil Liberties Union. And then you can have the time off from here and go do your family things for Christmas. We kind of put a lot of that to the front so that you do have some time to do family things and those other things that always get so busy around Christmas. That's intentional.
Hello, this is Laura Essex. Just another reminder that we've got a whiteboard out front for the Funding the Future Committee. We'd like your input on suggestions, thoughts, dreams, desires for the funds that we have from the 1892 Meeting House grounds sale. I need to come up with a shorter name for that. I also have sent that out electronically via a Google Forms, so that'll be in your Fairfield email blast. I don't ask for much, just 100% response rate from everybody. So even if you don't feel qualified to answer, please put something down and we will take a look. And also to our Zoom friends, we have that in the chat for the Zoom meeting. I think Teresa was going to drop that in for me today, so thank you, Teresa. Thanks, guys.
This is Steve Kirchhoff. Earlier this week, Andy Pritchett, Nita, and I delivered a whole lot of food to the Kunat Food Pantry over in Owen County. It took us over an hour to load our vehicles. Andy has a large truck with a large bed in it. We filled that. We filled the back of his passenger area, the front seat passenger, the back of our Camry, and our trunk. And so it was, we estimated, because it was reflected the purchases we made through the outreach committee, that we're using the funds that you all had donated, plus all the food that had been donated in kind. It was approximately, I would guess, $1,500 worth of food that we delivered this past week. Mabel Capps, the director, was very appreciative. The shelves were almost bare over there, and so it was good to make the delivery to them. We'll do it again next month, and so keep the food coming, and we appreciate all of your generosity and support for the Kunat Food Pantry, and also for Anne for her clinic patients. We share the food and non-food items with them as well. So thank you very much.
Hi, this is Sue Walton, and continuing on, we need some help at the end of taking out some stuff. And on Friday, Scott and I did a run to Sam's Club and to Aldi. We filled our trunk, but I'm not supposed to be lifting all that stuff. And I got a bunch of stuff for Annie. I've got some nice big jars of peanut butter, and I think it was mandarin oranges that we found for you in containers. But we do need some help getting stuff in and out of cars and to move the red basket. Bill, can you get us a 2-level basket? The wagon needs to be 2 levels. Or another wagon. Anyway, if we could have some more help, we'd appreciate it. Thank you.
This is Anita Kamek. I think Randy probably made an announcement for me while I was gone regarding meeting. But I'll remind again that today is our meeting for business at the Rise of Worship around noonish. Give people a chance to have a little bit of a snack if you brought one. And we'll conduct the meeting of the business right in here. Thank you.
Are there any other announcements? All right. We're going to move to sharing our joys and concerns, and again, we'll start with the folks on Zoom. So feel free to share joys and concerns, our Zoom friends. I don't think I see any on Zoom, but feel free to jump in if I missed you. We'll open it up to the folks in the meeting house. Again, share joys and concerns with us, and state your name ahead of time if you feel comfortable, so our Zoom friends know who's speaking.
Hello, Herb Denny. I just want to express appreciation once again to the meeting for writing cards and calling my mom. She's been in her skilled nursing home for about 8 weeks, so she's adjusted. She's getting there. It's not easy sometimes. So your cards are so welcomed, and thank you. Prayers and calls and cards. And we had okay.
Stacy Denny. I just wanted to congratulate my husband, Herb Denny. He retired on October 31st after working almost 50 years. Very happy.
This is Paula Cardoza-Jones. I was not here last week because I was at a meeting at my other church, St. Andrew's Lutheran, and it looks like the church is going to close in the next year. We've had seen it coming. It's not a surprise to any of us, but that's what we're preparing to do. It's going to be very methodical. We're going to have a big celebration at some point because it's more hierarchical than Quakers. There's a lot of help from the higher up synod and such. So they know what to do, like how to help us get rid of the pews and other things that we need to get rid of. But I have a place to come. I'm going to be a full-time Quaker pretty soon. But please hold the other people in the light because they will be facing a transition. And one other thing I wanted to share, my cousin's daughter, who lived with me for several years while she was going to school at the Heron's School of Art, she and her boyfriend of like 10 years are in a very difficult situation. He had a good tech job but lost it. He's been unemployed for quite a while. Now he has Hodgkin's lymphoma. He's in and out of the hospital. Right now he's in the hospital because he has a rash of unknown origin that is causing him to swell up to the point where he can barely speak. They have very little money, no working cars. He lost his Medicaid. We don't know why. Good news is the hospital is trying to get it back because they want to be paid. So please hold them in the light too. Thank you.
I had a joy this week. Rhonda came to my job on Wednesday and brought so much food that our pantry was overflowing. She brought coats, and also she got to meet some of my coworkers, and she got to meet Daryl, who is the security guard, but I wish you all could meet him because he's just one of the loveliest people I know. He greets everybody as they come in. He sings. He makes you laugh. He makes you smile. Rita knows him. And so she got to meet Daryl, and he's we call ourselves partners in kind. I used to say, Daryl, you're my partner in crime, and he'd say, no, we're partners in kind. So if I ever make a name for what I do, that's what it'll be. But yeah, so I'm so thankful to Rhonda for all the things that she brought up to our food pantry and our clothing pantry.
Sandra Hayes Hartman here. You know, it's very difficult for an extrovert and outgoing person to coax a non-extrovert, outgoing person to stand up and say something. So he's going to be a man of few words today. But I want to thank everyone. And this is different from the time I was sick, because I didn't know anybody. Now I know all of these people here except the people I've never met before. And I want to thank you for all of the cards and concerns and the visits, Linda and Rhonda, people who came Leslie came from Nashville to sit with me all day. And I couldn't be any more grateful. But more than that, I'm grateful that Charles is still here. Because when he told me that morning I was looking like you look in the morning, he said, you know, I think I'm having trouble breathing. I called my son, and he was over there before I could make it to the bathroom to get dressed, and rushed him to emergency. And here we are, 4 weeks later, 5, and here's Charles, a man of very few words. He has new and thank you. I gave him his script so he knows what to say. 2 things, 3. Moo, moo, moo. And thank you, because he now is part cow. His heart valve is from a cow. And we thought it was going to be from a pig. And Becky had decided to bring a pig's nose, and he was going to stand up and say, oink, oink. But do you have any words without the script?
Oink, oink. Yes. So grateful to be standing before you folks and seeing everyone. Always enjoy coming here. Look forward to it. And look forward to your caring, love, and expression of it. I'm very grateful for my wife, the support that she gave me. Wow. I feel so much better. And I haven't even noticed the presence of the cow that's sitting in here, which is amazing. Sometimes I think, well, what does that look like? And I don't remember anything about it. But so grateful to be part of this congregation and the love that I always feel here. Thank you, everyone, for the support.
I'd just like to ask for thoughts and prayers for my mom's first cousin, Ellen Little Hale Beecher, who died last week. She's one of 3 of the generation that my mom was in that was left. And her 3 girls and her grandchildren and her husband. She was a nearby neighbor here too. She lived on Black Rock Road. So thank you.
Mary Dooley. Last night, I was able to go do a little ballroom dancing for the first time in months.
Hearing Mary Dooley speak jogged my memory because I think of Mary Dooley as our resident Mother Nature of the meeting. So I think it was Monday night, I was able to see the Northern Lights out the front door of my own house. And I've waited almost my whole life, my whole adult life for sure, to be able to see them. And I went out I had my giant hooded wearable blanket and I stood there and I just blocked my eyes, I turned off our front porch lights, and I stood out there and finally my eyes adjusted so that I could see it with just my naked eye, and it was just amazing.
This is Steve Kirchhoff. I just had to follow up your comment, Paula. I was feeling a little nostalgic about St. Andrew's Lutheran Church, which is the church I grew up in. I didn't know they were closing. So that was my church for the first 20 years. Went through confirmation there, sang in the choir. And Nita and I were actually married in that church when it was on the east side of the Speedway Shopping Center. It's now on the west side. So just feeling a little nostalgic. So thanks for sharing.
I forgot to say something. The Monday after Charles went to the hospital, a very good friend died. She had a brain bleed. But just after Charles went to the hospital, I had a concert. And in the audience was my illustrator and very best friend, Diane McGuire. And I said, I didn't know you were coming. Why don't you go to dinner with us? She texted me and said she didn't feel very well, very good about eating. Okay, she and her partner, Peter, came to see Charles that Wednesday. I said, oh my, Diane, you're losing so much weight. What's the matter? And she whispered to me that she'd had a lot of diarrhea. That next morning, Peter called me and said, Diane graduated. And I said, what does that mean? It's 2 in the morning. What does that mean? She's gone to be with the Lord. That very week, she went into exploratory surgery and they found cancer in her entire abdomen, and she died after the surgery. And so I want to give thanks for her and all of her contributions. She was the illustrator of my children's books. And we had one that we were finishing called I'm Alive and Free, the Body Died, Not Me. And so I want to express the gratitude that her friendship brought to me, and a reminder that when you go, you just take off this earthly body, but you're still there, because I call her name out, Diane. Why? But just wanted to mention that, Diane McGuire. That was it.
Friends, thank you for sharing. If there are no more, Josiah, would you lead us in prayer?
If you'll center down with me. Oh God, thank you for being in the in-between times with us. In the warm fall days when the leaves crunch underneath our feet. In the cold winter nights when we get to be in company together. In illness and in health, we find you in the doctors and nurses that take care of us, in the health assistants, the hospice care workers. You are there for us in so many ways. In between justice and injustice, you dwell within the lawyers and the judges. God, grant them your wisdom that you may dwell in justice with us. Thank you for our gifts of community that you have given in food and in caring for others. You provide this on a daily basis, and we are so grateful. Give us time and presence. Give us your light. And dwell in us in between our listening and understanding. Bless the message that we are about to receive and those messages that follow into our meeting for business as well as throughout the week. Thank you for this wonderful day that you live in love within each of us. Help us to show it to one another. Amen.
Good morning, friends. Excuse me. As John was giving his centering thought, I could feel the tears welling up, and then Josiah's prayer just the tears were flowing, and it's so healing. Thank God. Excuse me. Oh. Last weekend, I was up at the Quaker Nexus fall camp for Western Yearly Meeting, and I had the great joy of doing Alternatives to Violence Project exercises with children aged 8 through 12. And in one of the exercises, we asked the participants, what's one hope that you have for the future? And one of the participants, a 10-year-old boy, said with such clarity, I hope that everyone can feel safe and that they can trust the people around them. And just the simplicity and sincerity of that has been ringing in my heart since last weekend. And yesterday, some of us were at admin council. That was my first admin council, and it was a bit of a doozy. I'm feeling a little depleted, so forgive me. I've never been to a board meeting with Western Yearly Meeting. I'm on Christian Outreach now. And I went in confused and went out realizing that everybody felt confused. And several of us were there for the small group discussions for lunch, and that was great. And then the admin council, I think we were planning, this will take 90 minutes. At most, we'll wrap this up and be home in time for dinner. I think it went for at least 3.5 hours. It was 3 hours. Randy zoomed in. And, a lot of our institutions are struggling. The seminary I graduated from, Friends United meeting, just to name a few. We were holding a lot in that meeting, and passions came out, and that was good and healthy, and also scary for some friends. It can be scary when we get passionate, but it's good. It's good even if it's a little uncomfortable. Today is November 16th. We're here in Canby at Fairfield Friends Meeting, and we're going to be talking about seeds again today. It feels like it's been a very long time, but the last 2 sermons I've given have been about seeds, and this is the 3rd in that series. But before we get into that, I want to take a moment and check in on some of the periodical issues like membership and financial giving to the meeting. On membership, could I ask the members of the Ministry and Council Committee to just stand up for just a minute so folks can see who you are and know your faces. These are some of the friendliest folks you'll ever meet. If you have any questions about membership or about pastoral care, how to answer questions about that or how to receive pastoral care, please come see these friends or me or Phil, and we can help get you on your way. Thank you, friends. I was an attender for about 4 years before I thought about membership. And the only reason I considered membership was I was about to become the treasurer of the yearly meeting. And somebody said, it might be good if Jackson joins the church. And they asked me at that nomination committee meeting, Jackson, why aren't you a member? And I remember clear as day, I said, I have never been asked. I have represented the meeting, I have attended, I have fully participated. It hasn't even occurred to me to ask about being a member. So if you are waiting to be asked, this is the time. Please consider becoming a member if you haven't thought about it or don't know about it. On the topic of offerings, financial contributions to the meeting, as many of you know, We have now had 4 months in a row of not meeting our budget when it comes to the weekly offering. And if you would like to support the ministry and functioning of Fairfield Friends Meeting, there are 3 ways that you can make a contribution. We have the offering plates located in the back of the rooms. There is a link on our website, www.fairfieldfriends.org, and you can always mail a check to the meeting house. I was told early on in my time as co-pastor that the traditional way of evaluating co-pastors is through looking at numbers such as attendance and giving. And with my 6-month evaluation right around the corner, I feel a twinge of nervousness considering some of the facts about finances. All of that aside, near the end of the meeting for worship, we pass around these large baskets that we fill with food and checks and cash, and that money goes to the invaluable work of the outreach committee. And if I can tell on myself, I did not give financially to my original meeting for about the first 4 years. And I will never forget the sense of dropping a $10 bill into the donation lockbox at Berea Friends Meeting. And in that moment, I truly felt like I was beginning to participate in something greater than myself. So, if you have been attending Fairfield Friends for years, please consider dropping any amount into one of the ways to give. And just to quickly express thanks and gratitude to those members who serve on the finance committee, our treasurer, and other friends who make sure that we can keep the lights on at Fairfield. This is very challenging work, and I say this as a former treasurer of a yearly meeting. Okay. Excuse me. Can anybody tell me what this is, or venture a quick guess? We got a root system. Okay, that's a good start. Honeysuckle, boom. Honeysuckle bush. So, I'll put this right there for now. Where am I? As you can see, the root system of this honeysuckle bush is winding and powerful and strong. And, you know, if you try to lift up the honeysuckle, it is going to put up a lot of resistance. And this season, I have spent many an hour uprooting honeysuckle bush. It is a wonderful spiritual practice. And when it gets to be so large, it takes specialized tools, a team of people, or a good solid rain, or you just can't do anything with it. And there are so many fields and byways covered in honeysuckle. And I don't want to call honeysuckle bad or evil. I want to call honeysuckle unwholesome and out of place. And the honeysuckle has no idea what it is doing. And, you know, I can really relate to that at different phases of my life. I did not know where I was or what I was doing or the harm I was doing to others out of a lack of self-awareness. We all have unwholesome habits and thoughts that start off as a single seed, one thought, one impulse that we act on. And a lot of these things are born out of things that seem to protect us. Distractions, distancing ourselves, isolation from others. But these unwholesome habits are really harming ourselves and our community, and they prevent us from becoming our best selves. And having said that, we'll now turn to the scriptural passage of today, which comes from the book of John, chapter 12, 24. And that's a really handy verse to remember, 12:24. It reads, and these are the words of Christ Jesus, "Very truly I tell you, unless a kernel of wheat falls to the ground and dies, it remains only a single seed. But if it dies, it produces many seeds." Let's take a little time and explore the exegesis of that verse. Jesus is always using imagery that is easily understood by his audience. He was in an agrarian society, and most folks were planting seeds out of a necessity for their livelihoods and to eat day to day. And Jesus had a mastery for these kinds of parables and metaphors. And here we have an image of a kernel of wheat, and it serves as a representation for the ministry of Christ. And this saying comes from Jesus during his last public preaching appearance in the book of John. They were at the festival of Passover, and a group of Greeks wanted to see Jesus. And the disciples came to Jesus and said, "Oh, Jesus, there's a group of people who would like to see you." And with no hesitation, Jesus says, "The hour is upon me." And then he says, "Very truly I tell you, unless a kernel of wheat falls to the ground and dies, it remains only a single seed. But if it dies, it produces many seeds." There was a deep sense of urgency in the telling of this parable. Jesus was trying to condense it down as much as he could. Unless a kernel of wheat falls to the ground and dies, it remains only a single seed. But if it dies, it produces many seeds. In order to make space for transformation, growth, and new community, sometimes we have to let go of our old ideas and visions about ourselves. And Jesus embraced this reality, that there is always new hope that comes through resurrection. Through the surrender of ourselves, we can begin to live again. And as it says in other places, we must be born again and again and again. It is not one single act. As a people living together in community, we usually have a tendency to resist change, even though we are open-minded. It's quite a paradox. Change is threatening. The unknown is terrifying. And it is also incredibly hopeful and inspiring, depending on the conditions and the community. In the practice of Christianity, in the lineage we participate in that stretches back over 2,000 years, there have been folks waiting entire lifetimes for something incredible and amazing and powerful to happen. And we continue to wait. We continue to wait for that moment. And I believe that if we have the patience to wait, something incredibly good and amazing will happen. I want to ask, what prevents us from falling and dying as the kernel of wheat does in the parable? What stops us from letting go of our former selves? I've been reading the text, The Sickness Unto Death, by the existentialist Christian philosopher Kierkegaard, and it's been deeply comforting. Kierkegaard writes that there are 3 forms of despair when it comes to the human experience. And to state them briefly, these three modes of despair are: 1, not having an awareness of oneself; 2, not wanting to be oneself; and 3, wanting to be oneself and apart from God. Kierkegaard writes that the experience of despair is universal among humans, and it leads to all kinds of unwholesome acts and behaviors. And to list a few of those, sometimes we become completely absorbed in our distractions, or our work, or our routines, or our habits. Sometimes we hide our true selves from our community out of a sense of fear or shame. It can manifest as a refusal to acknowledge any kind of higher power. And it can also manifest in believing that we are completely self-sufficient and apart from God. With all of this despair in our world and our lives, how is it possible that we can become ourselves? One of the greatest paradoxes of being a human is that we are always becoming who we are. Sometimes we're trapped into an idea of a permanent self, of a permanent community, a permanent institution, or a permanent place. But everything is always changing. We know this to be true from our day-to-day experience. We want to change the world, and we want to change ourselves for the better, but not at the expense of our habits or tendencies or ways of looking at the world. Very truly, I tell you, unless a kernel of wheat falls to the ground and dies, it remains only a single seed. But if it dies, it produces many seeds. In order for the head of wheat to transform and multiply, it has to fall and let go of itself. Without its surrender or sacrifice, there is no hope for renewal or rebirth. Death is a condition for life, and life is a condition for death. We all have ideas about ourselves that need to be let go of in order for us to be liberated and start anew. If we look away and don't embrace our fears about ourselves and work through them, then there is no room or possibility for transformation. The way out is through. And as frightening as it is to let ideas of a permanent self or a permanent perspective or a permanent institution, we can let those parts of us go. And we need not forget those old ideas of a permanent self. Through our spiritual practices like prayer and meditation, we can offer up these parts of ourselves to God and be transformed. The better we come to know ourselves, our tendencies, our habits, our ideas about the world, the more honest we can be, and the more helpful and supportive we can be for each other during these times, these dark, strange times we live in. Friends, as we prepare to enter into our time of open, unprogrammed worship, I would like to offer these queries. How do we become ourselves? How does a community become itself? And what are the roots of our community? If you would like to give vocal ministry during our time of open worship, please rise and a microphone will be brought to you. And yes.
This is Paula Cardoza-Jones again, still part Lutheran. And in the Lutheran Church, we always have a stewardship drive in the fall, which ends in pledge cards for what you're going to give the following year. And then you get your envelopes. That's how you know you're a member. They give you cards, give you envelopes. And so I've heard many lessons, messages on stewardship, and one of them, though, really sticks out in my mind. Somebody got up and suggested that we not give till it hurts, but that we give till it doesn't hurt. And the point is, when you find something you believe in and want to support and give to it, you'll feel good about it. It won't hurt. And I'm reminded of my younger son. When he first started working, he was at Ivy Tech studying machine tool technology, and he started working part-time as a machinist. And toward the end of the year, I suggested that maybe since he has an income now, that he might want to think about giving part of it, donating it, part of it. And he said, yeah, I'd like to donate $10. I thought, well, that's nice, not terribly generous, but, you know, that's a good start. And I asked him, what would you like to donate it to? He says, those kids who need desks. He had seen a fundraising message about kind kids in need of desk in Malawi. And he saw all those kids, those students, sitting on these dirt floors trying to learn. And he told me how much he hated it when he had to go into the gym for some sort of presentation and sit on the floor. So he decided that's what he wanted to do. So I said, okay, that's great, Nathan. So $10. And he said $10 a week. And so as far as he kept up for years, so over $500. And he felt good about it because he could relate to getting these kids off the floor. I was so proud of him. So yes, I like to think of giving in terms of feeling good, giving till it doesn't hurt, till it makes you happy.
Linda Mann. As I'm sitting here reflecting about our point in time where we're discerning about our own budget and resources and decisions about them, it just strikes me, Steve's report and others, about how much we've been able to help others, most recently and for a long time. And we've been blessed, and we've been able to help many other people feel blessed through that generosity.
If all hearts are clear, now is the time for our community giving and singing. We're going to be singing from the worship and song hymnal number 121, In the Garden. And if we could have some folks help collect food in these baskets, we'd appreciate it. And stand as you're able and sing 121, worship and song, In the Garden.
Before we go, Lee, as I came in, said, I'm sorry, Amanda, we're doing I Am an Acorn, and you've never heard that one probably, and you didn't even know to practice it. And I was like, oh yes, okay, well, we did it. I just keep thinking of that song, and I would love for us to try one last time to sing it through with a little more of a plan from me. And not that Jackson's plan wasn't good, it was good. It was a good beginning, a good way to learn. But 242, if you'll turn to it, I think if we would all sing it together in unison, with piano, and if you want to accompany us too, then I was thinking if this side wants to just the second time through immediately repeat the song, you guys just sing the whole way through, and we will wait a moment and come in. When they get to number 2, we will come in at number 1. So whole thing unison, then second time through the song, you guys just, it's basically like you're singing it straight through twice with Jackson, and second people, I'll come in with you, and Lee will also be with me. So banjo people will be this side, and piano people this side. Okay, clear as mud. Okay, great, let's go. Can you just play the opening? Okay. Okay, all of us, here we go. I am an acorn, the packet, the seed. God is within me, and God is the tree. I am unfolding the way I should be, carved in the palm of God's hand, carved in the palm of God's hand. I am an
Who would have thunk leaving it to the choir director to lead the musical sections? That's a novel idea. We got one more song. I invite you to sit if it's comfortable. And just take a moment to feel your breathing. Feel your breathing for just a second. And one of the monastics at the Buddhist monastery in Mississippi would say, let us sit upright beautifully. Let us sit upright beautifully. And if we could, let's turn the lights off for just a moment. I love this room with the lights on. I also love this room with the lights off. Thank you, Lee. So let's just sit and breathe. I'll play a few verses of a song called God Bless the Grass. I'll try. God bless bless the grass that grows through the crack. They roll the concrete over it to try to keep it back. The concrete, it gets tired of what it has to do. It breaks and it buckles, and the grass grows through. And God bless the grass. God bless the truth that fights towards the sun. They roll the lies over it and think that it is done. It moves through the ground and reaches for the air, and after a while it is growing everywhere. And God bless the grass. God bless the grass that grows through cement. It's green and it's tender and it's easily bent. But after a while, it lifts up its head, for the grass is living and the stone is dead. And God bless the grass. Thank you, friends. Please turn and greet one another.